Okay, Shalom Aleichem. We're continuing the Tzurba. We're in volume 15. By the way, volume 16 starts Shabbat. It's going to come out in October, they said. And it's going to be a 2-year program just on Shabbat. 2 years, we're going to be learning Shabbat halachot like never before. I mean, from the source to the practical application and everything, B'ezras Hashem. So I'm looking forward to that. So after Sukkot, as Hashem, we'll make a little campaign. We'll see if we can get more people who want to join. It's going to be Master Hilchot Shabbat. B'ezras Hashem, within 2 years, will we come out with a strong basis in Hilchot Shabbat. That's starting in October. For us, it might be a little bit after October. We still have to finish this one. So it might be December we probably will start. Okay. Let's start the Shir a bit in volume 15. We're starting today Hilchot Tefilat HaDerech. So the whole source of Tefilat HaDerech is a Gemara in Masechet Brachot. Chavtet Amud Bet Lamed Amud Aleph. It says over this follows: Amar le Eliyahu Navi said to Yehuda, Achu de Rav Sila Chasido, to the brother, to Yehuda, the brother of Salah Chasido. He said to him, Lo tirtach v'lo tichti. Don't get angry and you won't come to sin. So very good advice. You don't get angry, you're not going to make avirot. So don't get angry. Don't get drunk, and you will not sin. I was just listening to a shir from Rav Shenkolensky, and he was talking about he was doing, they're up to Hilchot of not drinking with Goyim. And he was saying, the whole story that happened, someone was sharing a story about how an Orthodox Jew went to the bar, had a few drinks, and then he started to do bad things in the bar. They had to get the security to kick him out. So, if you get drunk, you can't act properly. And then you'll come to Avirot. And then Eliyahu Navi tells him, and when you go out on the road, consult with Hashem before you head out on the road. Okay? Now the Gemara says, what does it mean? Consult with Hashem before you go. What does that mean? God, I'm planning to go. What do you think? No. Amr Yaakov, Amar Hizda, Zut Tefilat HaDerech. That is Tefilat HaDerech. When you go on the road, you're getting kind of like, you're consulting with Hashem by saying Tefilat HaDerech. That's why your road's going to be okay, because you're consulting with Hashem. What is that prayer of the road? So he says over here, meet to peace and bring me back to peace. Right? So what's the translation here? Direct my steps to peace, guide me to peace, rescue me from the hands of the enemy. And send a bracha in my hands. This is very important also for Rosh Hashanah. That's coming up this Shabbat. Don't make the bracha about me. You make the bracha in a tzibur. Talk the davening about us. Don't say, right? Lead me to peace. Rather, here we should go in peace. It should be a bracha of the tzibur. Take a look on the next page, on 74. He brings the Nusach Ashkenaz, Nusach Edot HaMizrach of the Tefillah prayer. It's
the malach is accompanying you, no? The blue.
So he's saying, so Tatzi. So you look inside. It says, "V'tatzi shetolichenu l'shalom, v'tatzi deinu l'shalom, tismichenu l'shalom, v'tatzi leinu mikaf kol oyev v'derech." So you make it in the plural, right? And the same exact thing is brought down in the Yalkut Yosef. That's the way to say the bracha. Some of the Siddurim add on a few more words. They maybe some of them elaborate, like Nusach Ashkenaz, they elaborated a little bit more. But the primary bracha is from Masechet Brachot, and that is the bracha that we make when we go out on Tefilat HaDerech. Baruch atah Hashem, Shomea Tefilah. Now, the question is, we're calling it Tefilat HaDerech. Is it just a prayer, or is it a bracha? Is it Birkat HaDerech, or is it Tefilat HaDerech? We're saying a bracha at the end. Which one is it? So it says Tosefot, Tefilat HaDerech shechotem ve'en poter bebaruch ve'yesh lo lefi she'en brakot ela shevach v'tefila be'alba. You know why it only ends with the bracha and doesn't start with the bracha? Because usually, if you have a bracha that's long, you say Baruch Atah Hashem, then you say the whole thing, and then you end up Baruch Atah Hashem, Shemei Tefilah. You should say something like that. Why is there no opening Baruch Atah Hashem? So it says Tosefot, because you know why? Because it's not a bracha, it's a prayer. Even though you make a bracha, it's not a bracha, it's a prayer. Rabbeinu Yonah says, no, it is a bracha. We have by Tefilat HaDerech, it doesn't open with the bracha. The chotem, but it ends with Shemei Tefilah, and it ends with Baruch Atah Hashem Shemei Tefilah. Why doesn't it open with the bracha? Says Rabbeinu Yonah. Mifnei dekivan d'Shemona Esrei Brachat Shemei Tefilah. Since where do you get the bracha Shemei Tefilah? Where does that really come from? Come from Shemona Esrei. And in Shemona Esrei, it's the bracha that's smucha lechaverta, right? It's samuch to its next to the bracha before, and since it's samuch to another bracha, we don't start, right? All the brachot in Shemona Esrei don't start with Baruch Atah Hashem, just the first bracha, because everything else is smucha lechaverta, so it's gone to the next. So he says, since we do that in Shemona Esrei for Shemei Tefilah, achshav eina smucha lechaverta lo yachashinu lahachi. No biggie. Since in Shemona Esrei we don't make Baruch Atah Hashem when we start Shemona because it's next to another bracha. So too, any time you're up to Tefilat HaDerech, since it ends up Baruch Atah Hashem Shemei Tefilah, you don't need to make a bracha beforehand. It's like the Shemona Esrei bracha; it's just one to the next. We compare it Shemei Tefilah like that. Bnei Yeshua says, don't say that the Anshe Knesset Gadol made this bracha because Eliyahu Navi said to Yehuda, Himlach b'kanecha v'tzel. Lemasha eloshin tefillah de almos. Bnei Yeshua also says that it's not bracha, rather it's a tefillah, and that makes sense why it's called what we call it Tefilat HaDerech. It's a tefillah. So Bnei Yeshua in Tosfot want to say it's only a tefillah and not a bracha, whereas Rabbeinu Yonah wants to say it is a bracha and not a tefillah. Okay, now. How far do you have to travel in order to say Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha? Right? The real Tefilat HaDerech is the bracha. How far do you have to travel? What's the minimum distance? So let's take a look. Okay, is it distance or is it time? That's going to be another question that's going to come up later. Distance or time. That's on page 80. But for now, let's just see what the Gemara says. Gemara says, source 7. Page 76 of Yosef. I think he lost the page over there. Page 76. It says over there in source 7. Eimat Matzili. So he asked Navi, when do I say this bracha? When do I say this prayer? So Yaakov Rav Chizda, Misha'ah Shemahalach Baderech. Once he starts going on the road. That's not very well defined. What does that mean? Okay, we'll have to figure out what that means. Ad kama, until how much, or ad kama means from when, maybe. It's going to be Machlokes Rishonim how to read this word, ad kama, or how much you have to travel, or until when can you say it. So Amar Yaakov Rav Chizda ad parsa. What's a parsa? So a parsa is 4 mil. It turns out to be around 2.4 miles. And on the bottom, he says 2.3 miles. In the Yalkut Joseph, he says it's 2.4. Chazon Ish said it's 2.8 miles. So it's under 3 miles. Right? Let's say it's 2.4 miles. I'll go with the Yalkut Joseph. So what does this whole Gemara means? So look at the way Rashi understands this. Ad kama zmana leitpalel. Until how long do you have the chance to say the prayer? Rashi's understanding the word ad kama, not in the distance, but rather how long do you have to say the prayer? So the answer is ad parsa. Parsa. That if you're going, you have to say it within the first 2.4 miles, according to Rashi. Right? Rashi understands Gemara. Then within the first 2.4 miles, you have to say Tefilat HaDerech. That's the way he's understanding it. Then you can't say it. That's Rashi. We're not going to bust it that way. But that's Rashi. And we're going to say that we should do that. Piskei Tshuva says, why? What's Rashi's reasons? Look at the number source number 9 in the bold. The ikar tikanat Tefilat HaDerech mishum limlach bekonom. V'zeh ta'im dafka b'tchilat darko. He says, what does the Gemara say? What did Eliyahu Navi say? Eliyahu Navi said, before you go on the road, consult with Hashem. So you're going to be halfway through, and now you're going to say Tefilat HaDerech? When do you consult with someone before doing something? Before you do it. So according to Rashi, the initial stage is to consult Hashem. And you consult Hashem in the beginning. Therefore, you have to say it within the first 2.4 miles. After that, you can't say it. However, the Bahag, Sefer Baal Halachot Gedolot, right? He says, I don't understand Rashi. It doesn't make sense. His understanding is, what does it mean, at kama? How much? It means, how much do you have to travel in order to be mechuyav in Tefilat HaDerech? Not until how long you have to say it, but how much you have to travel. So if you go even one parsa, you have to say Tefilat HaDerech. That's what he understands it. And based on this, says the Rosh, he says the Bahag, the Sefer Halachot Gedolot, makes more sense. It's giving you how much you have to travel. Because he missed the first 2.5 miles and he has another 100 miles to go. Oh, don't say any more Tefilat HaDerech. That's Rashi. How does it make any sense? Okay. He says if you are close to the city, less than a parsa, less than 2.3 miles from the city, then you don't make the bracha. Meaning, from the way I'm understanding this, is Moshe Shulchan says it this way. Let's say I'm traveling 100 miles. Forgot to say Tefilat HaDerech. I'm now 1 mile away from the city. Oh, let me say Tefilat HaDerech. He says no. If you're ready less than a parsa to the city, you don't say it. The reason is that being outside the city more than a parsa, more than 2.4 miles, was dangerous. There was no inhabitants, no one was living there. There was wild animals, robbers, bandits, thieves, stuff like that. So if you're already close enough to the city, there's people there, there's travel there, there's stuff going on, so therefore you wouldn't say it. So now let's take a look at Shulchan Aruch on page 78, source number 12. We don't say it unless you have a parsa to go, at least 2.4 miles. If you're going less than 2.4 miles, you don't say the bracha. Then the Ramah says, if you're going on a long trip, within the first 2.4 miles, that's when you should be saying it, like Rashi, right? Should lechatchila to say it then. Nasa the Shulchan Aruch. But if you got to say it, Yomer Ota calls man shehu b'derech. The whole time that you're on the road, you can still say it. Uvilvad shelo higia toch parsa smucha la'ir sherotzeh lelumba. As long as you're not within a parsa to the city that you want to go and rest in. So if you have the last couple of miles, right? And now you remember to go there, you say it without a bracha. That's not the real answer there. You say it without a bracha, as a tefillah, without a bracha. Okay? And Mishnah Brewer explains it. Why? There's no sakana being so close to the city. All right, so there's no sakana. They don't say the prayer. And he says, if a person goes on a train, going to see train, car, and all these things, you would also say Tefilat HaDerech. Okay. So here's a nice chart on the bottom over there to explain the Gemara. The Gemara said how long you have to say Tefilat HaDerech. The answer was a parsa. So you have the Rashi and the Bahag. Rashi understood it means until when can you recite Tefilat HaDerech? So Rashi answered until the first 2.4 miles, right? Reason is because you have to ask Hashem for permission. And the Ramah says we should try to listen to Rashi and say in the first 2.4 miles. The Bahag understood it as being how much you have to actually travel in order to be Mechuyev Tefilat HaDerech. And it has to be a parsa, 2.4 miles. The Rosh says has to be said before the last parsa of the trip. And that's what that's the Shulchan Aruch brings down as well, that you have the chance to say Tefilat HaDerech the whole time to the last 2.4 miles. Now, whether miles is distance or time, we'll have to deal with that in a minute. Okay, now, when should you say it? We said, we're going to see. It's coming up. It's all going to come up. It's going step by step. Now, when should you say it? We saw, according to Rashi, you have to say it within the 2.4 miles when you start. When does that begin? When do you have the chiyuv to start saying it? So says the Shulchan Aruch, Oimer oita achar shehichzik b'derech. Once you start going on the road. You don't say it unless you're going a parsa. But according to Shulchan Aruch, once you start the trip. Says the Magen Abraham, nearly, so you don't say it when you're still inside the city. You have to be outside the city to say it. Because that's considered being on the road. Because you're still in the city, it's not considered you're on the road. You have to be outside the city. And that's what most people are noyeg to do it once they're outside the city. It says once you're outside the city, how does he say in the Alka Joseph? He says over here, once you left where people live. So once you get onto the highway, now you can start saying Tefilat HaDerech. All right? When there's no people living there. If you're on like the Belt Parkway, I don't know if that's considered leaving people where people live, because the whole way on the Belt Parkway, you have people living there right off the belt, right? So maybe it's not considered traveling. You have to go further when there's no houses there. So he said you have to leave the place, and that's what the Magen Abraham is saying. The Taz has a different opinion. The Taz says that you can say it even in your house. Before you start going on the road, you can say Tefilat HaDerech. Again, maybe the Taz is going like Rashi, which means you have to ask Hashem for permission before you head on the road, and therefore he says, say it in your house before you go. And he says when Shulchan Aruch says to say it, when you're on the road, doesn't mean when you're on the road, but it means you've set your mind to go on the road, says the Taz. Okay, so there is that opinion from the Taz that you can say Tefilat HaDerech already from before. Mishnah Berurah says that lechatchila you should say Tefilat HaDerech once you're already on the highway, away from the houses. But the avad, if you need to say it beforehand, you could say it beforehand. Okay, the way we do it, we say it once we're on the road, and once we're away from the houses, once we're away from people where they live. Talk about plane in a minute. Okay, plane's another whole thing. Now, so now we've been saying parsa, page 80. We've been saying parsa. You have to travel 2.4 miles. Remember, in the times of the Gemara, when they say 2.4 miles, how are you traveling? Walking, mostly walking. Camels are used to schlep merchandise and stuff like that. So 2.4 miles is in walking. So do you go by distance? Meaning today I have a car. 2.4 miles takes me a few minutes. Do I still have to say Tefilat HaDerech for 2.4 miles? Or do we say it's by time? Okay. Which means it takes about 1 mil, it takes about 18 minutes. So 4 mil, means a parsa, is 72 minutes. So does it have to be 72 minutes? Or does it go by distance? So it's a machloket poskim. The Rav Wozner in Shevet HaLevi says does not go by time. Tefilat HaDerech goes by distance, and 2.4 miles is it. If you're traveling 2.4 miles outside of a city, then you already have to say Tefilat HaDerech. He says the same thing. You have planes that some plane trips are less than 72 minutes. So what are you going to tell me? Not to say Tefilat HaDerech, says the Shevet HaLevi? So it's not time. It's distance. 2.4 miles outside of a city. That's it. You have to say Tefilat HaDerech. Yalkut Yosef, on the other hand, says no. First of all, the halacha is you only say Tefilat HaDerech if you're going from city to city. Okay? That means if you're traveling anywhere within the 5 boroughs, New York City, if you're within New York City, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, that's all one city. I don't care if you drove 50 miles from Staten Island to wherever you went. It's one city. There's no Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha. Because it's all within one city. You have to have left, if you're leaving from New York City and you're going to Muncie, so that's ear le'ear. That's one condition. Now you need a second condition. You have to have 72 dakot. Now it has to be a 72-minute travel. So you need city to city and 72 minutes of travel time. Then you can say Tefilat HaDerech with Shem Achut. That's the Chamuvadia. That's for the rest of the year. Remember that. You need those two conditions. Me'er le'er, city to city, and 72 minutes of travel time. No matter if you're traveling on train, no matter if you're traveling in car, no matter if you're traveling even on plane, he's going to say. You need 72 minutes on the plane. I saw that they brought down in the English in the brachot, because the Gomo brachot also has similar to do with till there. No one getting that today. But he says over there, for the plane, you can include the travel to and from the airports into the 72 minutes. So I mean, if your flight's only a half hour, but to get to the airport is 20 minutes, and to leave the airport afterwards is another 30 minutes, whatever, and you get to over 72 minutes, you can say Tefilat HaDerech Hashem Malchut. That's what I saw brought down. Chamuvadia says you need to have 72 minutes on the road from city to city in order to be mechuyav b'Tefilat HaDerech. Okay, now the next part of the question is, I am traveling from city to city, but no, that's not city to city. That's not city to city. You're right. Nassau County is maybe you considered it. I don't know if it's considered a city. It's a city. It's its own city. Okay, so let's say it's yearly air, but you don't have 72-minute travel. So you don't have 72-minute travel in between them. Okay, now there's another issue that comes into play. What about? Let's say he has to travel a parsa. Okay, let's say I have to travel 72 minutes between city to city, but on the way to the city, there's another city. I'm passing it through another city to go to my final destination. So I'm not traveling a parsa straight. I'm not stopping off in the other city, but I'm going through another city.
Go to Florida.
Okay.
This state.
Yeah, but on the road, and if you're traveling to Florida.
No.
One and a half. Okay, let's do this example. Don't use Florida example. Let's do this. I'm traveling from New York City to Muncie. Okay, let's say I'm going upstate. Okay, I'm going upstate. I'm going to Catskills. Okay, now I am traveling 72 minutes. I am traveling from city to city. But while I'm traveling from city to city, I'm half hour in, I'm going through another city. And another half hour, I'm going through another city. Meaning I'm not just away from all of the housing, I'm going through within housing. Like, you have in the Belt Park, you have a bunch of houses on this side and that side, right? So you're going through an established city. Do you say it's Tefilat HaDerech there or not? Because it's not dangerous. Remember, the whole point of Tefilat HaDerech is you're going on a road where it's dangerous. Nobody's there. There's creatures there, there's animals, there's bandits. But if you're going through a city, it's relatively safe. Right. So do you say Tefilat HaDerech in this or not? So the Bir Halacha, right? So of Chaim is Bir Halacha. He says, even if he needs to travel a parsa, but he travels through another city, or he knows that there is a city next to the route, on his route, then he should not say Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha, because it's not dangerous. So says Bir Halacha, maybe you don't say it with the bracha. What about Rosh Zaman Orbach? He says in Halichot page 82, he says that Rosh Zaman Orbach, when he would travel from Yisharayim to Bnei Brak, he did not say Tefilat HaDerech. And then everyone asked him, "You say Tefilat HaDerech in Yisharayim Bnei Brak?" He said no. He He says the area around the roads are populated, and since you never left from a populated area, there's no reason to Tefilat HaDerech. All right. Look at page 83. He says even more. He says there's cars from the city coming in and out on the highways the whole day. I don't even know if the highway is considered outside the city because people are always coming and going on it. It's an extension of the city. No Tefilat HaDerech. Says Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, we don't say Tefilat HaDerech. Says the Ketut HaShulchan here. He says maybe Tefilat HaDerech was only made when you really had danger. Like you say in the Tefilat HaDerech, you say, take me away from all the animals and the bandits. Today you don't have that. No Tefilat HaDerech. Brings over here from Nefesh HaRab. This is Rav Shachter quoting his or mentioning Rav Soloveitchik's customs. And Soloveitchik said that when he first lived in Boston, he traveled from Boston to New York, he said Tefilat HaDerech. But after a few years, he became so accustomed to traveling by plane that he didn't feel he's in any danger. And therefore, he stopped saying Tefilat HaDerech. Not in danger, no Tefilat HaDerech. Okay. This seems to be the Ashkenazic approach. At least some of the Ashkenazic poskim. Says the Yalkut Yosef, and he says, very beferish, very clear. If you have on the way, on the road, settlements, right, towns on the way, even so, we're still going to say the bracha, the Shem Hashem, because all you need, you have to have gone on an intercity highway going from city to city with 72 minutes of travel time. That is enough to say Tefilat HaDerech. Populated areas are not our concern, says Chacham Ovadia. Okay, so we would say Tefilat HaDerech even if we were traveling to the Catskills or to Muncie at 72 minutes travel, and even if there are places in between, but since it's intercity, we would say Tefilat HaDerech. The Shevet HaLevi, it's based on a Mishnah Berurah, Mishnah Chavetz Chaim. We're basing it on a rush that's saying that it's not dangerous if you're within a city, within a parsa within a parsa of a city. It's not dangerous. Therefore, if you're so close to a city, even though you're on the road, but it's populated by cities, it's not dangerous. So no Tefilat HaDerech. Somebody says no. Tefilat HaDerech is you're going from city to city. If you're going from city to city, you got to say Tefilat HaDerech. So we said anything in the 5 boroughs is not considered city to city. It's all one city, all New York City.
But from here to Muncie is not.
It's 2 different cities. New York City, and you're going now to Rockland County. It's 2 different issues.
Still
populated areas. Okay, so Ashkenazim do not say Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha, according to those who say not to. And we Sfaradim will say Tefilat HaDerech because it's 72 minutes on the road, and it's between city and city. Right. So yeah, it's because you have settlements all around. Right. That's a different. No, not for this. No, he's saying it's not because it's no. He says as long as you're intercity and you're going 72 minutes. The Shevet HaLevi, he says over here, there's a Talmud Chacham who wants to say today you don't say Tefilat HaDerech since there's so many towns next to many of the roads. But he says it doesn't seem this way to me. The whole thing of a parsa is leaving your city, because wild bandits and animals are not close to your city. But when travels on the road and next to the road there are towns within the parsa, and one passes them quickly, and they are subject to the same danger that's common today, such as car accidents. So he throws in another thing. So Shevet HaLevi says, you're right, there's no animals, there's no bandits, but car accidents happen, right? This car accident happened, and therefore it is dangerous, the roads. So Shevet HaLevi says you don't need 72 minutes. Shevet HaLevi says you only need to go 2.4 miles. He doesn't go by time, he goes by distance. Oh, because the Gemara said at Parsa. Gemara said at Parsa. So he goes with that. Piskei Teshuvot says, since today the main reason for starting Tefilat HaDerech is not due to the thieves or wild animals, because of car accidents. One does not have to take into account the towns that are adjacent to the intercity highways that one passes quickly. So Piskei Teshuvot wants to say, like Shevet HaLevi, like the Yalkut Yosef, that we should say Tefilat HaDerech even if there are towns on the road, on the side of the road, because otherwise the car accidents are an issue. Okay, so how much you look into the car accidents? Chavavad does not go with the car accident thing. He's like, we don't care about the intercities. You're traveling 72 minutes, and you're traveling from city to city. That's all that you need in order to be mechuyev. The city, those in between doesn't make a difference to us. Maybe, yeah, he doesn't seem to be using that logic of car accidents. According to Chavavad, time.
Bike, we could be on a hyper.
Yeah. Even with plane, he said that by plane also. You need 72 minutes on the plane. Interesting. I mentioned that he brings down. Someone asked him a question. If I went on a half-hour flight, should I say to there? He said yes. With the bracha, he said yes. But you said not. You said only 72 minutes. So he said, yeah, you have to calculate in the time to go to the airport or from the airport. That gets calculated into the 72 minutes of travel on a plane, and then you can say Tefilat HaDerech.
What about going over the Yam?
Sea traveling.
Yeah, even when you go.
He seems to be saying you need 72 minutes of it. He's like, you need 72 minutes.
Of
travel time. Travel time. I don't know what that means exactly. Okay. Now, when it comes to planes, how do people do planes? So he brings from, look at source 28 on page 87. He brings from Shlomo Zalman Auerbach that what? When you're going on a plane, ain't it totally b'shira shtei parsiot. The Shlomo Zalman goes with 2 parsiot, by the way. He doesn't go with one parsiot. He says, "El miyad ki shetomim ha'aviron ba'aver levo gezek asherim yipo sakani yomer." He says, so Shlomo Zalman goes with what's a sakana, not what's travel time. He says it's a sakana once the plane heads up in the air, because if you fall down, you're going to get killed. That's already it's like Tefilat HaDerech. That's the Shlomo Zalman. Let's take a look at the Alka Joseph. He says, I'm outside of the Tzurba for a moment. Hatas ve'ivaron. You go on a plane. Shir shav shtayim esrei dakot. Yesh lo levarach Tefilat HaDerech b'shem malchus. You got to go on the plane 72 minutes. He says here. Like Chavavad time. It's time. It's time. Nothing to do with accent. Nothing to do with distance. It's time. Okay, very very simple. He brings it from Rav David Heber, a Travel's Guide to Tefilat HaDerech. I think this is more applicable to Ashkenazim, but he talks about the minhag as airplanes. So if the airport is in town, one should cite Tefilat HaDerech on the runway before takeoff. Mm-hmm. If one is concerned that he might forget, he may say it after the plane begins taxiing. He also may say it after takeoff. If the airport is out of town, one may say it on the way to the airport after leaving the built-up area. Right? This is maybe where Chamabaji understood the travel time to and from the airport. Right? Is also considered in that, and therefore a person can say it, or you can say it's based on the Taz. The Taz says you can say Tefilat HaDerech already at home once you know you're going on the road. Okay, so that dealt with time and distance and intercity and when you're mechuyev to say it. Now we come to the next part: how to say Tefilat HaDerech. Meaning, can you say it while driving? Can you say it while walking? Should you stop? So Masechta Brachot continues and says, "How do you say Tefilat HaDerech?" Chizda Amar Me'umad. Chizda said you have to stand. Even while walking. So now both of them were going. They're going on the road. Come Rav Chizda, become it's all there. Chizda says you have to stand and say Tefilat HaDerech. Did that? He stood and he said it. Rav Shesha said to his attendant, "Ma ka'avad Rav Chizda. What is he doing?" Amalei, he's standing and praying. Amalei, let's go stand next to him and also say Tefilat HaDerech. If you have someone doing something better than you, you should follow them as well. Meaning, yeah, I said you could say it while walking, but Rav Chizda already stopped and he's saying it. Let's stand next to him and say it as well. Now, so what's the Bet Yosef brings down over here from Rabbeinu Yonah, that when one leaves on the road on a journey, some hold that if one is riding, one doesn't have to come off the horse or whatever it is, because it's not more strict than Shemona Esrei. And in Shemona Esrei, we already learned this. Remember, if you're scared, you're going to have to come off the horse. You're going to lose travel time, so you're going to be more confused, and you're not going to have kavanah. So stay on the horse. So it's the same thing. Why would Tefilat HaDerech be worse? And Tefilat HaDerech, if anything, is lesser than Shemona Esrei. So you can stay on it. What happened? While you're a passenger in a car, if the horse is traveling, if you're stuff like that, Right. So driving because we say you need to have kavanah while saying it, so you can't daven while driving. So my question always is, what happens if I'm in stop and go traffic? Right, I'm stuck on the belts. I'm in the driver's seat, but I'm stuck in the belts. I can have kavanah because I'm stuck here for the next 5 minutes. I'm not moving, but I am in the driver's seat. Like, but it's not moving. I can see it's the Waze is all red. I'm done. I'm here. I don't know. I always had this. Yeah. Even if it's stop and go.
You need to move up 2 feet. Why are they moving up 2 feet?
Right. Shulchan Aruch says, "Hayotzel HaDerech." You go on the road. It's palel. You hear that song, right? We already saw this. Yitzhak Menach Hashem Elokeinu V'Kivotenu Shetoichenu Shalom V'Chuloi. But Tzarech Lamer B'Lashon Rabbin. We already saw it. Say B'Lashon Rabbin. Right? We don't want to say it on ourselves. You want to bring everybody in. V'im Afsher Ya'amod. V'im Afsher Ya'amod. Mileilach Kishiyam. No, you should better to say it standing than going. If you're riding something, you don't have to come down from it. Okay.
Sometimes you stand up in the plane and you have less going on because you
Right. You have to.
The bus would say you bounced around.
Yeah, so it's that's why they say sometimes it's better to sit. Right. Me, we actually like should stop the animal because we rule that it's comparable to walking. It says the Magen Avraham. So if it's possible, you stand. Otherwise, you can say it while going. You can say it while walking on the road. Says the Mishnah Abraham. If the people can wait for you, for example, but a stopping would cause one discomfort, then he doesn't have to stop. Rather, one should make the animal stop if possible. The same applies to sitting in a wagon. One should stop the horse from continuing if that is possible. So again, Bekitzer, if you can stop and say it, better. If you can't stop and say it, you can say it while you're on the road, and it's not a problem.
So many record and so many different things. Why don't you sit without changing?
Say again? Because that's not Tefilat HaDerech. Tefilat HaDerech is when you say it with the bracha. It's in parentheses. They put the Ruach Hashem in parentheses, which is no. I saw him brought down over here. He says, "No, that's not Tefilat HaDerech." He says, "Ve'ein amir Tefilat HaDerech we get the reshut el chiv gomer." It's a real chiv. Therefore, if you have to say it, you have to say it with Shem Hashem. You have to know if you have to say it or not. You have to figure it out. Okay, Yalkut Yosef in source 90, he says over here in source 35 on page 90. He's riding and he's traveling in a car. He doesn't have to stop. Even while he's driving or riding. So according to Chamavadja, you can say Tefilat HaDerech while you're driving your car. You can say Tefilat HaDerech. I don't know the practicality unless you know it by heart. It's
somebody sitting next to you.
So usually that's what I do. Usually you tell the wife to read it, right? And you answer remain. Okay.
No, my wife she says, and I
yeah. Oh no, you just let the wife say and then you answer remain. You don't have to say it yourself.
If the woman says, I say bracha.
Well, what's the same chiyuv? She has the same chiyuv as you to be protected. We'll see it in a minute. Yeah. You're being yotze through her bracha. She's saying the bracha. You're saying amen. You're yotze through her bracha. Listen, you're a driver. You're in the driver's seat. You're the chazayin. Okay.
It's the same. You just say amen. That's all.
That's different.
Do it together.
You got to.
From the time you leave the city, or from the time you start? I know it's you
might show
make
you.
the bracha right
You
outside
might show
you
you.
leave the city.
So we saw that halacha already. The Taz says you can say it at home. It says because you're supposed to consult Hashem before you go on the road. Therefore, say it at home before you head on the road. However, the Magen Avraham understood the Shulchan Aruch to be that once you're hichzik baderech, right? A Taz understood hichzik baderech means I made up my mind to go on the road. Magen Avraham understands it to mean that I'm on the road. Yalkut Yosef explains that to mean that once I've left the inhabited area. Once I've left the inhabited area, so usually which means you're on the highway, right?
So then what if the highway, what's like here, to go onto the highway, it takes 20 minutes.
Yeah, so that's it. You don't stick to HaDerech for that first part.
So we don't say, but
No.
the 72 minutes is calculated from that point, or it's kind
Good question. When the 72 minutes calculated from? It says me'ir le'ir, from city to city. And you're traveling 72 minutes. So if you're traveling 72 minutes from city to city, then you would say Tefilat HaDerech.
I did last night. I went to Muncie. So I go here.
How long does it take to go to Muncie?
Hour and 20 minutes.
Which is 80 minutes. So you have to say Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha. No, you say Tefilat HaDerech when you leave the city. Wherever, okay, you want to say you left the city. Okay, fine. Once you're out of New York City, and once you anywhere in New York City, you're in New York City, you don't say Tefilat HaDerech. Okay. Okay. So now you're on the road, right? Now you're on the road. You can say Tefilat HaDerech. Once you're outside the city. But technically, if you cannot say Tefilat HaDerech, you can even say it when you're on the road. You can't stop, whatever it is. You could go like the Taz and say Tefilat HaDerech before you head on the trip. You don't need 72 minutes from there. The way I understood it, he wrote it. He says, so me'ir le'ir, v'yesh v'nesiato kishir parsa shu shal v'chaimesh shiver stein dakot. Ben kevet, ben autobus. Doesn't make a difference. Pasha, city to city, 72 minutes. That's it.
From the edge of the city until
Is it the edge? Where does he say edge? He doesn't say anything about edge. 72 minutes. Now, when to say the Tefilat HaDerech? You say it once you're on the road.
Yeah, halfway.
Yesh levarach habracha la'achar shehichzik baderech, v'la'achar sheyotza me'hayishuv. Once you left the inhabited area.
So let's say I'm going to Fort Lee. Fort Lee is right across the bridge.
Okay.
And because all the traffic, it takes.
Oh, so now you're questioning.
2 minutes to get.
Now you're questioning if traffic's involved.
2 minutes.
All right, so then you have another problem because we saw that if you're within the parsa of your final destination, Sheikh HaDerech says don't say Tefilat HaDerech anymore. It's already too late because it's not a dangerous place anymore. All right. So then you wouldn't say. Now I don't know if you calculate the extra traffic as part of your Tefilat HaDerech traveling. It has to be like 72 minutes travel time, meaning standard normal travel time. And if today the bridge got closed and you were on the bridge for 5 hours, I don't know if that adds to the time. Doesn't seem to. I would assume so. I would assume it means it's travel time. Travel time.
Isn't it easier to just say Gomer when you come back in the soul?
You only, by the way, say Gomel on traveling. Chavad says if you're chayiv in Tefilat HaDerech. If you're mechuyev in Tefilat HaDerech, then you're mechuyev in Birkat HaGomel for traveling. It's the same din. It's the same din as Tefilat HaDerech. We didn't do Gomel yet. But from when I looked today at Gomel, it seemed to be the same din, almost the same din as Tefilat HaDerech, especially for travel. Okay, so when we get there, we'll look into it further. But I understood it to be the same. And there's many similarities between them. So we'll have to get there. All right. Now, the Sefer at Tashbitz brings down the minhag of the Maharam Merutenberg that he would say Tefilat HaDerech. He said whether you want to learn that he was on the road or he said it at home, like the Taz says you can still say Tefilat HaDerech at home, but he would say it if he knew he was traveling that day or he was traveling already in the morning. He would say it right after Birkat HaShachar, right after the morning brachot. Okay, why? Because Tefilat HaDerech starts off with that Baruch Atah Hashem, right? It's like Elokeinu Neshama, right? There's no Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning. So usually you don't say Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning of a bracha if it's a bracha next to its friend, another bracha, right? So the Maharam Rottenberg, what would you do? He would say the Birkat HaShachar, and then he would say Tefilat HaDerech. This way, it will be a bracha beforehand. Then that Tefilat HaDerech doesn't need to start Baruch Atah Hashem, and that's what he brings here. And the Shulchan Aruch brings this idea. He says of Maharam Rottenberg, you would have a bracha that's close to its friend. This way, it doesn't need a bracha thing. So, what should we do? First of all, what was he doing? Says the Mishnah Berurah. He needed to travel early in the morning before Tefilah. So he said it. He recited Tefilat HaDerech. But if one leaves after Tefilah, one cannot recite Tefilat HaDerech before Tefilah. Okay, since one may not recite until one has already begun the journey. Again, he's not taking into the opinion of the Taz. Taz says you can say it at home as long as you know you're going. You can say Tefilat HaDerech. Maybe Taz says you can. Maybe the Taz means only once right before you're going. Once you're about to walk into the car. Maybe not if you're going to go daven and then
Then you finish your plan.
Right. So maybe not. Maybe just before you go into the car. Maybe okay. Okay. So Bishop Rose says, so what should you do? You're leaving in the middle of the day. You know what you do? You should go into the bathroom and make a bracha ashiyotzer, or take a candy or a fruit or something like that. Make a bracha, and once you make a bracha on that, you can now make Tefilat HaDerech. Do we have to be machmer for this? Do we have to be careful for this or not? So outside of the Tzurba for a moment, in the Yalkut Joseph, he says, "Minhago Rabbeinu Meir Merutenberg sheyotzer derech v'boker hayomer til derech achi hirotzon kedei lasmicha berkat hagomel chasam tovim v'tiyeh bracha zu bracha smucha chevet tov al pizeh yesh noagim lahasmich tefila derech laezer bracha gam bracha lasheyotzer or bracha laezer davar ma'achel ulam en zem ikar halacha ela midas chasidus v'ziros be'alma." Something good to do, but you don't have to do it. You can say Tefilat HaDerech because that's the establishment. Because we already saw, remember that was the machlokut of the Tosfot and the Rabbeinu Yonah, whether Tefilat HaDerech is a bracha or it's a tefillah. Right? If it's a bracha, then you would understand why the Maram Rutenberg wants to do this, because a bracha shouldn't open without bracha to Hashem. But if it's a tefillah, the way Tosfot understood it, then it's just a tefillah. You can say tefillah. You can start tefillah in the middle of anywhere. It happens to end to say a bracha at the end, but it's a tefillah. Okay, that we saw that machloket earlier. All right, one more Indian when it comes to Tefilat HaDerech here. What about? I'm traveling in the morning, half the way, meaning half of 72 minutes. I'm going intercity, city to city on a highway, but I'm traveling 30, how many minutes have I do? 36 minutes, right? That will give me 7
right away.
Okay. I'm doing 36 minutes in the morning.
Halfway, yeah.
And then I work. And then I travel back, city to city, another 36 minutes. Do I say Tefilat HaDerech? Is it what's going on over here?
No, this is one distance 36, not 72.
It's complete, 72.
And my whole travel the whole day's travel is 72. Does it count?
You stopped already.
No, how's it work for Gomel for that? Yeah, as long as you're 36, right? You get it. Okay, so it says in the Sefer Kobo, the Maram writes the one who travels outside the city only recites its tefillah once at the beginning of the day. Even if one rests in a city for an hour in the middle of the day, when one leaves, one does not repeat Tefilat HaDerech. So if I'm going on my way and then I'm taking a stop in the middle of the day, right? This is not the 36, but the regular. I'm traveling 2 hours, right? And now I stopped off at a rest stop for an hour, whatever it is. Now I go back on the road. I'm not making out Tefilat HaDerech. My Tefilat HaDerech continues. It goes for the whole day. In fact, it goes for the day and the night that follows. Okay? Says the Shulchan Aruch, Ein loimer oita elo pam achad bayoyim. Va'afilu im yenuach be'er be'emtza hayom. Even if he stops in the middle of the city in the middle of the day. Aval im da'ato the lon be'er, if he wants to spend the night there, achakak nimlach v'yotze imenu la'avar chutza lo or l'shul beito, tzarech l'chazer v'tpal oto pam acheret. So if he decided to sleep in that city and then he changes his mind and goes somewhere else, then he's going to have to repeat it again. So he has to be able to stop and sleep there. That would make his breaking his Tefilat HaDerech. Okay, says the Yalkut Joseph on page 94, source 43. V'im yesh b'halicha v'chazara b'yom shir parsa mevarech b'shem u'malchut. If as long as within the day you're going to have 72 minutes of intercity travel, af nasa machtzit shir parsa b'boker u'machtzisa b'layla, you're doing half in the morning and half in the evening, you're going to say Tefilat HaDerech b'shem u'malchut. Avim nasa b'layla k'chatzi shah, v'lon be'er acher, u'l'mocher nasa oy k'shir shah, ein hanisyut misrefot. But if you do half at night, 36 minutes at night, and then you do 36 minutes in the day, because Tefilat HaDerech is morning, night, right? Similar to like Birkat HaTorah, it's morning and night, right? Because Derech is morning and night. So if you're doing night and then day, that if it's only half and half, you're not going to make Tefilat HaDerech. And if it's two travels, if you're doing 72 minutes, you'll make two different Tefilat HaDerech because it goes day and then night. Okay, so that's actually the next question, the pre-Chodesh. Pre-Chodesh's question is, what happened if I'm having a multi-day journey? I know it's going to take me a few days to get there. I'm going cross-country to California, right? It's going to take me a few days. 7 days. All right. So Tion did it already. 7 days. He knows. He'll tell me. He'll tell you where the stopovers are. You get to coach your food and everything. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and they do. They have a night here, a night there, a night there. Someone was telling me at work to do it. I'm like, I have little babies. I can't do that yet. Maybe when they get older. Okay. So what's the story? I'm doing a multi-day travel. Well, how many times do I say Tefilat HaDerech? I know when I started, it's going to be 7-day travel, 6-day travel. So how many times do I say Tefilat HaDerech? Oh, that's your, okay, very good. So that's what you want to say. Says the pre-Chodesh like you. Pre-Chodesh says, even though it's going to take many days, you say one Tefilat HaDerech because that's my one travel.
Say Gomel 7 times.
Oh, okay. So there is some chilukim between Tefilat HaDerech and Gomel. Okay, unless let's say he goes to shul and he wants to say Gomel after 1 day's travel. Can he? I don't know. It's a good question.
He goes and makes a stop somewhere, sleeps there for the night. It's already another.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be another day. It's gonna have to make another one. Correct. That's what we're gonna say. Because we're gonna say he goes day and night. And once he hit the next day, it's another Tefilat HaDerech is required.
It's not enough.
Says the Beit Chadash, the Bach says, one is recited every day of one's trip when one starts to travel. Unlike those who are mistaken and hold that one only recites it on the first day. For even if one had intent to sleep in the city and then change his mind and decide to leave the city, one needs to recite it again, like the Kobo says. How much more so when one sleeps in the city, does one need not to recite it the next day when one leaves in the city which he slept? And one must recite it anew every day, just like one is obligated to recite Shemona Esrei every day. Again, that's the comparison to Shemona Esrei and Tefilat HaDerech. I don't know why they keep making that comparison. Maybe the Shemona Tefilah, your Ben Yehuda wanted to say. So therefore, this is obvious, and one would not have to be written if not to reject the opinion of those who err. So says the Bach, we don't like what the Chodesh is saying. You have to say every single day a new Tefilat HaDerech. Okay, we saw that. All right, it says here the Radbaz. He breaks from the Radbaz. One who is traveling for many days, should he recite Tefilat HaDerech every day, or perhaps once is enough? So the same question was asked to the Radbaz. So he says, if the inn was populated, so one is required to pray the Shemona Esrei, it is obvious that when one leaves the next day, one needs to recite Tefilat HaDerech. For as if he is not only departing at the beginning of his journey. Like if you stopped at a populated area and now you're heading again, as if you are starting a new journey. So technically you'll be able to say Gomel every single day because you're starting a new journey every single time. However, if one sleeps in an unpopulated place, right, he's dealing with this populated versus populated. We saw Chamavadi didn't even concern for populated, right? So you say Tefilat HaDerech no matter if it's populated on the road or not. So I don't know how you look at this. There's room for question as perhaps it all is considered one journey and one prayer would be enough. Practically speaking, says the Radbaz, if one did not sleep in a populated place or one traveled by day and night, the first time one recites it and concludes Hashem's name, and the rest of the days he says without Shem Malchus. So he does a compromise over here. When one arrives at the town in Shemona Esrei in order to make up the previous field that one missed, but not more than that, since there's only Tashlum. Okay, then he talks about Tashlum. We're already done with that. Okay, so the Radbaz says perhaps do it 1 day, but Shem Malchus, and then the rest of the days without Shem Malchus. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what's this whole thing if you go to a place and you slept? What's this whole idea? Because Hesach Hadat. There's Hesach Hadat for my tefillah. I had my tefillah for Tefilat HaDerech, but then I slept. Hesach Hadat. My kavanah is off it. So maybe I have to go back. Certainly one slept on the way in and in the night, and then one needs to recite it again in the morning. However, if one travels the entire night, one does not sleep in a set manner at the inn, but only rests a little bit at the inn, and then resumes one's travel, one recites Tefilat HaDerech without the bracha. So Chavetz Chaim wants to say that it depends. If you slept good or you didn't sleep so good. Right. Right. So Lamaisa, what do we do? What do we do? How do we do this? No? What do you do if it's a multi-day journey? You did a multi-day journey. So what did you do? And what did they say? That it feels HaDerech how?
I was there by Orlando, Florida. Yeah. Me and Ruben.
26 hours?
It says 21 and a half hours, but it took maybe 28 hours. The bathroom, stuff here, like electricidad. No, we didn't anywhere. We go straight. We just
Great, 26.
have Ruben drive, have I drive.
Family or not family?
Big his Jeep, and I took my wife and one of my kids, and he took.
So I don't see over here him bringing this down. So he brings down about the Gomel over here. He says as follows: Misha Nasla mi early air shir hamalach parsa b'yoyim echad k'sha'ol l'tayr v'ach b'kat the Gomel. That's it. Right? If you're going from city to city and you travel 72 minutes, you say Gomel. So you could technically you could say Gomel every day as you're traveling 72 minutes. Because it's mistarif. It's mistarif. No, I'm saying if you still have to have those other two components. You're going intercity, city to city, and you have to have 72 minutes. We're just saying you can split those 72 minutes into two parts. And we're talking about we're talking about a case where it's not inside the city, intercity, from one city to the next.
What about if you drive to Manhattan?
You're still in New York City. You haven't even left the city.
Dangerous.
I don't care if it's 100 miles, but if you're still within the city, you don't take Tefilat to there. No. Again, I'm going to read to you what he says over here. Gomel also has to be from city to city. City to city. No, I don't have the Gomel here, but he says over here by Gomel, he says as follows. What he says. He says, Misha Nasa Me'ir Le'er, Shir Mahalach Partzio Me'achak Sha'olatar, Baruch B'Kele Gomel. It has to be Le'er Le'er. If you're going from like for me, I'm traveling from Rockaway, Queens to Brooklyn, right? That's the same air, even though it's not even 72 minutes, usually less than 72 minutes. But let's say it was 72-minute travel time. It's not air, it's one city. Intercity. Air. It's dangerous in the road. Okay. Right. So we saw that. Shevet Levi brought it down, the car accidents, this accident, or whether, like Shlomo Zarman said, that no, we're talking about real dangers, like it says in the Tefilat, the animals and stuff like that. We're not concerned about car accidents. Right. But no, it has to be Me'ir Le'ir, 72 minutes. Okay. Reciting Tefilat HaDerech on behalf of others. Next part. So the Alka Yosef over says, one who recites HaDerech allowed to fulfill the obligation on behalf of other travelers if one's voice is strong enough. Even if he uses a microphone, it's the same thing always, right? If you can hear him without a microphone, he uses a microphone, then it's fine.
1 second. I put the CD, the bracha.
Yeah. That never works.
Huh?
That never works.
And then I'm gonna say amen.
And it never works. Okay. Now, what happens?
How strong is it?
What happens if I say Tefilat HaDerech and I'm traveling with my friend and I say Tefilat HaDerech, my friend doesn't hear me saying it, and he is the one, and now he wants me to repeat it again for him, and he can't say it for he's driving, whatever. He wants me to repeat it again. Can I repeat the bracha again? Is it like Kiddush, where if I make Kiddush and someone else Kiddush, I can make Kiddush for them? Or it's not like Kiddush? or is it not? So let's see. Mishiberach, look at source 49. Mishiberach Tefilat HaDerech, v'chaver shaya imo b'nesia lo yishama et habracha, u'mevakish imenu sheyichzor v'yivarach le'otzi yedei chova, ein lo l'chzor v'levarich. He's not, he cannot say it again. Ma'achas shekvar birech v'yatzai yedei chova. Vav bishamru. Even though we say, Av bishayotza moitzi, even though he's already yotza, he can moitzi others, lo amar kain el brachot ha-mitzvot. Aval lo b'berkot ha-shevach, not in berkot ha-shevach, not for those of praise. So you cannot say a bracha for him. Again, he has to say his own bracha.
We already one party. So we already said.
So it seems to be everybody has their own chiyuv.
Let's say we drive
Feel
with
that.
Yosef.
What? Okay, and then he say the bracha. Okay, fine.
Let's say I said.
We're just saying you can't say the bracha for him. Okay.
Let's say we're driving, and I said the bracha.
Yeah.
And suddenly Yosef with me in the car, and wake up.
Oh.
So
he has his own
and
chiyuv. He has to say Tefilat HaDerech himself.
Or I tell him, I did already.
No, he has to say
I
Tefilat
did
HaDerech.
bracha. It's my car.
Yeah, you
It's
say
just
Tefilat
there in
HaDerech
the
for you. He has to say Tefilat HaDerech for himself. I don't want to say anything bad about anybody. But how many times have you heard? How many times have you heard stories? The same people, a whole company were in the car, right?
Yeah.
And they get chashom to a car accident, and one guy dies, and the rest of them don't, or half of them die, and the other one half don't. Everybody needs their own protection. Everyone has to say their own Tefilat HaDerech. What is it?
We have to wake up.
You professional driver. You don't need to. I don't want to tell you. Okay, fine. Woman and Tefilat HaDerech. Will there be any difference in a woman and a man when it comes to Tefilat HaDerech? If they're driving or they're backseat driving. Oh yeah, we'll die. The work of Musar have written that women should also be careful to recite Kriyas Shema when they go to sleep because they need Kriyas Shema for protection. So he says the same thing requires when Tefilat HaDerech is for protection. What? Women don't need protection when they're on the road? They do. So they also say Tefilat HaDerech. Says in Chod Beta, women must recite Tefilat HaDerech. And the Rigshay Leiv brings down that a man can be yotze his Tefilat HaDerech by listening and answering a man from the woman. Says over here, since they have the same obligation, the person can fill obligations Tefilat HaDerech for another. This is common say that women travels with their husband in the car, and the husband, is unable to have his wife drive when he's in the car, so he's the driver, and now they're obligated to Tefilat HaDerech, and it's difficult for him to stop the car. He's going to stop the car, go on the side of the road, so it's a big schlep. He cannot recite the bracha. So the solution can be that she recites the bracha, and he responds in vain. The Ephraim Greenblatt agreed to this halacha as well. So that is the derech. That's the way I'm knowing also. When we travel on the thing, I tell my wife, take out the siddur. We have the siddur. I have every in the car. I always have a siddur. It's anytime I have a car, I always put a siddur inside. So I tell her, open up page 854. I believe in the current siddur that I have over there. It's page 854. You open it up, and there is Tefilat HaDerech. She reads Tefilat HaDerech out loud. Everyone in the car listens. Everyone else is amen.
That's it. Everybody's yotze.
Everybody's yotze. No CD. No CD. The wife. Why do you need CD for? Who has CD still in the car? Oh, you got the old Lexus. Right. I don't have all those CDs in my car. Okay. Fine. Very good. Rabotai. The machshava here is that this the whole idea of Tefilat HaDerech is a protection. The truth is
no Tefilat HaDerech, no gomel.
Everybody chonogi was right. That's it. Okay. The idea is that we need protection in life, and that in order to get that protection, we have to daven for it. We cannot take protection. We cannot take protection for granted. We don't take tefillah for granted, right? The whole idea of tefillah. I heard this morning an interesting story from Rav Zev Smith, and this will end. Rav Zev Smith, Shlita, your own, and he said that he once met a guy. He came to a brit. He came for a guy who had a brit. After 21 years, he finally had a baby. Whoa. And the father who spoke, he got up and he said that the way it happened was when we didn't have children, we started every conventional and unconventional way to try to have a child. We tried. We went everywhere for everything, everywhere, everyone. Forgot which gadol they went to. They went to a certain gadol. I forgot the name of who he went to. And the gadol said, I don't know what you're going around asking everybody for. Did you do your part? He says, what's my part? He says, did you daven? He says, yes, I daven. So the gadol told him, you didn't daven. He says, what do you mean I didn't daven? I daven. He says, you daven, yes, but did you daven? Did you really daven? Did you really ask Hashem? But he says, the gadol tells him, did you realize that your davening can actually make the difference? Because a lot of times we stop daven. Like, we know we have to daven to Hashem. We daven. But did you realize that the most important ingredient for you to have a baby is to daven? He says, I daven, but I never daven with such, kavanah like that. He says, I daven that he says, he went home, him and his wife. The girl said him and his wife should daven in his house. They should daven for a baby. A year later, they had a baby. Right? 20 years they waited, going to doctors, this, that. Nothing happened. You have to daven. If a daven is such a way that you understand that the answer comes from Hashem. Right? That's a different davening.
The brother on 5 years didn't have the 80s. That was the head.
Right. שבוע טוב, כולם, תודה רבה. תודה רבה.